My name is Evelyn Marsh. I am a retired postal worker from Savannah, Georgia, and I want to tell you something right from the start. I am the least likely person in the world to be sitting here talking about forgiveness. My own sister would tell you that. My children would tell you that. The congregation of Mount Calvary Baptist Church on Waters Avenue in Savannah, where I sat in the fourth pew from the front for 37 years, saying the words about forgiveness every Sunday without once applying them to the situation that most required them, would tell you that. I held a grudge for 22 years, carried it the way other people carry a purse. Everywhere, reflexively, so used to its weight that I had stopped noticing it was extra. And then in May of 2023, at 69 years old, I had a massive stroke in the garden behind my house. And I died for approximately 5 minutes. And I was given a message about forgiveness, so specific and so direct and so personally addressed to Evelyn Josephine Marsh that I have not been able to carry that purse a single day since. I am going to tell you what the message was. I believe it belongs to all of us. I grew up in Savannah, the middle child of 5, in a shotgun house on the east side where my grandmother had lived before my parents. My father worked at the Georgia Ports Authority for 29 years. My mother cleaned rooms at a downtown hotel and raised 5 children with the organizational genius of a woman who understood that love, in limited resource conditions, is primarily a logistical achievement. We were church-going, hard-working, and loud in the way of large Savannah families, where everybody had an opinion and nobody waited to be asked. I joined the Postal Service at 23, carried mail on a walking route in Ardsley Park for 19 years. Walking the same streets of Savannah for 19 years gives you a relationship with a place that most people do not develop. I knew every garden on that route. I knew when the azaleas were going to bloom before the homeowners did. I retired in 2018 with a pension and a cake that said Evelyn, delivered for 41 years, which I found both touching and accurate. I was married to Raymond for 33 years. Raymond drove a school bus and coached youth basketball at the YMCA and remembered the name of every child he had ever driven or coached, running into the hundreds. Raymond died of prostate cancer in 2016. I have not stopped talking to him since. We had 3 children, Darnell, a firefighter in Atlanta, Patricia, a dental hygienist in Savannah, who came for dinner most Sundays, and Marcus, teaching middle school science in Augusta. Now I need to tell you about my sister Loretta, because Loretta is the reason the message was necessary. Loretta is 2 years older than me. For the first 30 years of our lives, we were the kind of sisters that other sisters pointed to. We finished each other's sentences. We called each other every day. We were in each other's weddings, in each other's delivery rooms, at each other's kitchen tables through everything life produced. In 2001, there was a dispute about our mother's estate. I am going to leave it at that level of generality because the specific details are less important than what they produced. What I will tell you is that I believed with complete sincerity that Loretta had behaved in a way that was both legally questionable and personally devastating. I told her so in terms that were precise and thorough, and that covered ground that cannot be uncovered. The last real conversation Loretta and I had took place in the parking lot of a Savannah funeral home in March of 2001. By the end of it, we had said things that restructured everything that had preceded them. 22 years. I want you to sit with that number. 22 years of living in the same city, attending the same family events with the choreographed avoidance of 2 people who have practiced not acknowledging each other until the practice becomes indistinguishable from the natural condition. 22 years of my children growing up with an aunt who was a stranger. 22 years of my mother asking me quietly on the phone if there was any progress, and me saying, "No, Mama," and meaning it. I had real reasons. I want to say that clearly because I think it matters for anyone listening who is carrying their own version of this weight. The injury was real. What happened was wrong. I am not here to tell you that your reasons are not real. I am here to tell you what the message told me, that real reasons and necessary distance are two different things, and I had confused them for 22 years. It is a Thursday morning in May of 2023. Early, before the Savannah heat has committed to the full program of the day. I am in the garden behind my house, deadheading the roses. I am thinking about Loretta, more than usual in those weeks, in the way that unresolved things increase their volume as you age, and the arithmetic of remaining time becomes less theoretical. The stroke arrives the way my research afterward told me strokes most often arrive. Not dramatically, but with a sudden confusion the mind tries to explain away. My right hand does not cooperate. Then the right side of my face goes strange. Not numb exactly, more like a radio losing a station. Not gradually, but in a cut. Then the garden tilts. I sit down in the dirt between the rose bushes. I know what this is. I have my phone in my apron pocket. Patricia had insisted after Raymond died, and I had agreed with the compliance of someone who finds an agreement unnecessary in practice and is now deeply grateful for it. I cannot work the phone with my right hand. I try my left. Patricia answers and I say, "Patricia, stroke, garden. Come now," she says. "I am calling 911 and I am coming. Do not move." The garden tilts further. The magnolia tree at the back of the yard. I planted it myself in 1991 because I miss the one from my childhood, is doing something extraordinary in the morning light. I had been looking at it for 32 years and actually seeing it for perhaps 45 minutes total. This morning, between the rose bushes and the stroke, I am seeing it clearly. It is more extraordinary than all previous seeing had registered. Then the magnolia tree is gone. The first thing was the absence of the stroke. After those first minutes of total neurological disruption, its complete disappearance was itself significant information. What replaced it was awareness more complete than anything 69 years of using a brain had produced. The peace arrived delivered. That is the only way I can describe it as a postal worker. It was not ambient. It was addressed to me specifically, arrived at the correct location and fit perfectly, which told me that the interior of Evelyn Josephine Marsh had been designed to receive exactly this. The light was present and total, and I will confirm that it was exactly as every other person who has been there has described it, and add one thing I have not seen described with this specificity. The light was listening, active, not passive, paying attention the way the best listener you have ever spoken to pays attention, with complete presence, no preparation of response, no distraction of its own agenda. The light was all attention, and all of it was on me. And I understood for the first time what it felt like to be fully heard. The presence within the light, I am going to call it what it was, which was God, because I am a Baptist from Savannah, and I have my own vocabulary, and I am not exchanging it for a more academically cautious one. That God, the one who had been in the fourth pew at Mount Calvary for 37 years, while I said the words without applying them. The life review arrived, organized and thorough, nothing missing, every item accounted for. The full route, walked beginning to current position, with the perception of seeing your own actions and the experience of the person receiving those actions, simultaneously, without the comfortable buffer of only having access to your own perspective. The 22 years with Loretta were in the review. I felt what Loretta had felt, not as punishment, as information, as the other half of the story I had not had access to. I felt what it had been like to be Loretta in that parking lot in March of 2001. I felt what it had been like to be Loretta at our mother's funeral in 2009, sitting on the opposite side of the church from her sister. I felt every family event where the choreography of avoidance required both of us to perform a normalcy that neither of us felt. And then I felt something I did not expect. I felt what it was like to be right and still be wrong. I want to say that carefully because it is the most important sentence in my account. I felt what it was like to have legitimate grievance, real reasons, correct assessment, and to have used those real reasons to build a wall that cost both of us and our children and our mother something that no amount of correctness justified costing. And what that simultaneous feeling produced was not more guilt. It produced grief. Clean, honest, undefended grief. Not for what Loretta had done, for what we had both lost by my response to it. And then the message came. It did not arrive as a voice or as text. It arrived as the complete apprehension of a truth I had been in proximity to for 69 years without fully receiving, the way you can walk past a door every day of your life without trying the handle. Forgiveness is not the conclusion of an accounting. It is the decision to stop keeping the account. The debt may be real, the injury may be real, but the accounting is being conducted in the currency of your life, and that currency is finite, and you are spending it on a balance that will never satisfy you, because the satisfaction you are looking for is not available through accounting. The message continued. Forgiveness is not a gift you give to the person who hurt you. It is a gift you give to the person you want to become. 22 years of that weight had shaped me. I felt the shape of it, the places where carrying it had installed distances I had told myself were discernment, and that were sometimes discernment, and were sometimes the wall wearing a more respectable name. And then one final thing. The people who have hurt you are also carrying the weight of what happened between you. You are not the only one still in the parking lot. The parking lot holds everyone who was in it until someone decides to leave. Someone decides to leave. That landed in me the way a key lands in the lock it was made for. Raymond was there. Raymond, who had listened to 22 years of carefully maintained grievance with the patience of a man who loved me completely and trusted I would arrive at the right place when I was ready. He communicated without words everything he had communicated for 33 years and for 7 years after. I love you, Evelyn. Now go do the thing you have been putting off. My mother was there, the woman who had asked me in quiet phone calls before she died if there was any progress. She communicated with the specific authority of a woman who had raised 5 children and understood the full range of what families were capable of doing to each other. Baby, it is time. The garden came back. The dirt between the rose bushes. The magnolia tree still extraordinary. Patricia's voice. Mama, Mama, I am here. 8 days at Memorial Health University Medical Center in Savannah. My neurologist, Dr. Angela Foster, told me at my 6-week follow-up that my recovery was at the favorable end of what she would have predicted given the initial presentation. I said that and some additional assistance. She wrote something in her notes. I called Loretta on day 5 from the hospital bed with Patricia beside me. Loretta answered on the 3rd ring. I said, Loretta, this is Evelyn. I have been in the hospital. I need to tell you something. Before I could continue, Loretta said, in a voice with 22 years of not saying things collected inside it, Evelyn, I know. Patricia called me when you went in. I have been calling the nurses' station every day. I did not know if you would want to hear from me. I felt the parking lot. both of us still standing in it after 22 years. Both of us calling the nurse's station and not calling the person. I felt the sheer, unnecessary duration of two women who loved each other, standing in a parking lot because neither was willing to leave first. I said, "Loretta, I am leaving the parking lot. I am sorry it took me so long." She was quiet for a moment that contained everything we had not said. Then she said, "Evelyn, I have been ready to leave for 20 years. I was just waiting for you." Last Christmas, all 5 of my mother's children sat at the same table, for the first time since 2000. Loretta brought her sweet potato pie, which she has made every Christmas of her adult life, and which I had not eaten in 22 years. I ate 2 pieces. It was exactly as good as I remembered, which struck me as the specific detail the universe appends to reconciliation to make sure you understand what you were missing. My grandchildren met their cousins for the first time. Marcus's daughter, who is 7, and Loretta's youngest grandchild, also 7, were inseparable within 45 minutes, planning their next visit before dinner was over. I heard Raymond the way I always hear him, not audibly, but in the interior quality of knowing what he would say. What he would have said was, "There it is, Evelyn. There is what it was all for. Here is what I want to leave with you, from a retired postal worker from Savannah who spent 5 minutes somewhere that reorganized everything. You are carrying something. You have been carrying it long enough that the weight has become part of your normal. I know this because I did it for 22 years, and because the message I received was specific enough that I believe it was also general, addressed to me in order to be passed to you. Forgiveness is not the conclusion of an accounting. It is the decision to close the books. The debt may be real, the injury may be real, but the accounting is being conducted in the currency of your life, and that currency is not unlimited. Someone has to leave the parking lot first. It does not have to be the person who caused less harm. It simply has to be the person who is ready. We are going home, all of us, to a love that held our complete record and found nothing in it that could not be forgiven. Because the love that found it is the same love that made it. We are held. We are forgiven. We are being asked, in whatever time remains, to practice on each other what has already been practiced on us. Go close the books. Go leave the parking lot. Go eat the sweet potato pie. We are going to be what we were always meant to be, together and free and home.